Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be extra special spicy. And the other thing, y'all, is we're here to talk about why are realtors lying. It's getting under my skin. I can't stand what these people are saying. And I have a special guest with us here today to help us kind of figure out why are realtors saying what they're saying. Scott Walters, how are you, sir?
Travis, my friend. It's always an honor and a privilege to see you. This is going to be crazy. Everybody watching, buckle up and strap in. Always a good time to come on Travis's channel. Thanks for having me on, my friend.
I appreciate that, Scott. I was looking to the right because Juliet and Johnny are making me feel nervous. Some of my core subscribers that I love very much, Scott, they want me to be nervous, man. I think it's just to see if I can like make it out okay. And I'm going to be honest with you, Scott, I didn't ever make it out okay. Like after this, I'm going to go cry in a closet and be like, hey, why are they picking on me? But anyways, so I'm doing another live today. You guys, I said you guys, I hate saying that, but I'm doing another live today just because Scott and I were available. And I think it's a really good topic of conversation now that we're starting to see a lot more kind of ugly, desperate realtor remarks. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Before I kind of go into stuff, I want you guys to do me a favor, if I can. Go to Scott's YouTube page. Okay, this is Scott's YouTube channel. It's a Scott Walters Report. I love Scott. He was my first friend that I met on YouTube. Scott reached out to me when I had less than 2,000 subscribers, and we're in a group together. This man is amazing. I absolutely love Scott, and also Scott. Scott's also a realtor. Is that correct, Scott? Are you a realtor as well?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that's important. That's important, especially because of our topic of conversation. So Scott's a realtor, y'all. I'm a realtor. Everyone's a realtor. We're able to see what's going on behind the scenes. And again, we're going to go and try to kind of estimate why realtors are saying what they're saying. And then I want to take some questions as well. I'm going to take some questions and answers as well. And I have someone else that's supposed to come online. But before I do that, you guys, I want to show you guys some data. We don't really believe in toxic cheerleading. A lot of the toxic cheerleaders just say things. They don't really back it up with data. They certainly don't give you links to follow. It's all cheerleading. I mean, it says salesperson in front of their license. So again, realtors' jobs are designed to sell you, but I don't want you guys to get caught up in their toxicity. So let's just quickly go through the data real quick, Scott. If I may, sir. But Scott, before I begin with the data, sir, anything you want to say?
Well, just buckle up and strap in. Hold on to your hats and glasses as we blow the lid off the U.S. economy and the U.S. housing market, because everything hinges on the U.S. housing market. If and when we lose it, we will lose everything. Anybody that wants to minimize the severity of the waters we're swimming in now, I have to politely disagree with you. We've always had booms and busts in the U.S. housing market, and we just went through the biggest boom ever recorded in world history. So anybody saying no crash risk here, run for your financial life, my friends. There's always crash risk anytime the market exhibits bubble behavior. So like Travis said, I found him we were both pretty new, and now it's kind of crazy because, like you said, I'm a boots on the ground real estate agent. I found myself living in the biggest artificially created housing bubble ever produced in world history because I was made an essential worker with limited inventory, creating upward pressure that couldn't sustain itself. Those are the realities. So it gets me a little irritated, I guess, for lack of a better choice of words, when I see people in the industry minimize that or not acknowledge that or do anything they can to try to continue to make the bubble continue on, because now they have financial gain and they thought this could last forever. It's clearly not. So I'm really excited to see what Travis has today in terms of now showing that the data that's in fact demonstrating exactly what we've been talking about taking place. So pretty exciting stuff. I'm really excited to be here, as you can tell, and I will not sugarcoat it. I will always give it to you and give it to you guys straight. That's my job.
I love you for that, Scott. And don't worry, guys. I'm going to pull up some of your comments. I just want to kind of get into this live, and then we'll be answering your questions. And maybe you guys have some stories that you want to comment about as far as realtors basically being extremely toxic, realtors not even acknowledging the price crashing in some metro areas, and really just the overall lack of caution, the reckless enthusiasm, the reckless optimism to get you, to get you to buy. We're just kind of sick of it, you guys, because remember this again: the realtor's job is to sell you. It's to sell you. There's nothing in the prerequisite that says they have to give you data, that they have to caution you and warn you. It's to sell you on buying a house. So it's really, it's kind of easy to understand that. But what I'm going to do, Scott, is I'm going to pull up some data just so there's really no question about the. Sorry about that. I did not have that camera on. I'm going to turn that on right now. But I just want to pull up some data because, again, we can't even get these, cheerleaders to acknowledge the data. Again, we can't even get the cheerleaders, Scott, to just say, hey, yeah, you should be cautious. It is crashing in some areas, right? We can't even get realtors, Scott, to define the word crash. They keep changing their definition of crash to fit their narrative. But anyways, here's the data. This is S&P Case-Shiller. Okay, so this is U.S. National Home Price Index. We're not even going over median sales price. So this is Case-Shiller, and really what I want to point out is this decline. Do you see? Do you see? It's really easy to see when something goes down like that, Scott. That's a decline. So I don't get why we can't even get these realtors to acknowledge this decline. And also, I want to point out, Scott, not only do we have a decline, we have a rapid, never been this fast decline. So I don't understand.
Yeah, no, that's really, I think one of the things that I found shocking is, like you said, we can see now the housing market has reversed course, which means, in fact, we've identified the top of a bubble, but not just any bubble, not a garden variety bubble, the biggest bubble ever seen in world history. That should be alarming. That should everybody should be like, wow, that's kind of crazy. It's the biggest bubble ever. And so now we're seeing it reverse course, right? It's now in black and white. It's happening. But the more alarming part is if we track the biggest housing bubble that was produced up until this point, the 2008 bubble, this one's reversing course faster. We're breaking all the wrong records. This is reversing faster than the '08 crisis, which was the great financial crisis, the biggest bubble up until this point. So it's now in black and white. So anybody just like, don't look at that. Let's go look at a FOMO factory down at Lennar and their tour homes. Don't ignore the data. Like, wow. Like, am I living in the twilight zone out here? Insanity.
I think we must be living in the twilight zone because again, there is no disputing it, and at the very least, people should see red flags, right? So to be derogatory, Scott, because we get a lot of derogatory like crash bros, which by the way, we now own that word. We've taken that word back. We've empowered ourselves as a community, but a lot of people are saying that just so again they could belittle and embarrass people into buying a house. So here's another chart right here, Scott. This is median sales price of only existing homes. Again, numerous data here. We have median sales price of $413K in June. It's now at $363K. Now, it's important to understand what median sales price is. I listened to this really clown realtor this morning, and I won't say their name. I really want to say their name, Scott. I really want to say this guy's name because it's so trash. But basically said median sales price isn't valid because it's just showing that there's homes that are listed for a smaller purchase price amount, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's true. If it's if more affordable housing is listed, it's going to bring down the median sales price. But also, you want to know what's going to bring down the median sales price, Scott? People listing their properties, people price cutting the listings, and purchasing those houses. So there is merit in median sales price. Obviously, there's flaws in all data. But again, the absolute lack of caution, the absolute lack of comprehension for, a lot of these YouTube realtors, it's completely disgusting. And another thing, Scott, and I'm sorry, I'm rambling. One more thing, man. So this morning, this realtor, again, garbage, the channel's dying. His channel's dying. In my opinion, he's leading people astray. We can't even get this guy to acknowledge the data. And I went on their comment section on their own video and their own channel, man. Their own comment section, the people that are commenting like, dude, You're out of your mind. What about Austin? What about this? And what about, and the person's not even responding. So I'm thinking like, come on, man, like, read what's going on in your community. Look at this, Scott. You see on the board there, Viva La Crash Bros. And the thing is like, we're owning that. And we're not saying that real estate's bad. We think that real estate's great, but there's time for caution, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the reality is, our friends, it's so cool because, when we came to YouTube, it was only because we were working in the industry. We saw a bubble take place, and we were like, hey, listen, this is bubble behavior. And typically when a bubble's produced, they've crashed. So our job was to like protect people. I always say, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over, expecting a different result. When I saw this starting to behave like, oh, wait, I was like, at first, because all the euphoria, the herd mentality that I saw take place, everybody wanting to buy a home, and if somebody was on the receiving end of all those phone calls, our phones ringing off the hook, everybody wanted to see homes. And I was like, well, maybe this is a good time to buy. The interest rates are low. Maybe I should go buy. But then I was like, wait a minute. This is what I did in '08. Like, I bought when the narrative is a great time to buy. It's too big to, I'm like, I think I'm going to sit this one out, and I'm going to start giving some real talk. And so all areas, because real estate's local, of course, all areas behave differently. That's why I look over at my channel. We always talk about, does it pencil out? If it pencils out, maybe I test it with an offer. But you see, the herd mentality that was produced in this bubble, the FOMO, the upward pressure, lack of inventory, low interest rate environment, that was unorganic growth. And then the wealth effect created with the stimulus made everybody spend differently had they not received the stimulated economy. So now we are in a post stimulus environment and a pre-bailout environment. Now the bailouts are going to start getting rolled out to try to keep this thing sustained. But unfortunately, just like 2008, my friends, we had bailouts, loan mod programs. The Obama-backed loan mod program's going to save your house. It didn't. Crashed anyway. So, I mean, there's so much to really wrap our head around. My job is always, don't let our highs get too high, our lows get too low. Try to be somewhere in the middle. If you halfway expect this thing, if and when it plays out, you won't be a deer in the headlights. You're going to be able to operate more efficiently within it. But like Travis was saying, most areas are, this has been a rule in real estate since the beginning of time. Real estate is local. Every market behaves differently. So your area might not be crashing yet, but guess what? There's a bunch that are. There's a bunch that are.
And let me just bring this last map up, and then we'll move on from the data, because I think it's pretty indisputable. Here's a different set of data. So I've showed you guys, the viewers, many sets of data showing price decline, showing loss of value, things of that nature. Here's another data set. We looked at Case-Shiller, we looked at Fred. This is showing significant signs of price decline, 13% along the West Coast, 12% Austin, Seattle, 11%. So again, it is shocking to me, Scott, the lack of comprehension and the lack of caution. So let's start this now. And I've started some comments that I think that are really good questions. I'll bring those up here in a minute. But Scott, and I'm going to try to give you the mic here. Obviously, I can go off. I'll go off for like an hour right now. Actually, I already did when I was on the phone with you. But why, Scott? Why? Because, okay. A normal person, I would think, would at least consider, like, you know what? We're seeing some signs that are a little bit shaky. There's a little bit red flags. We should be cautious. We should slow down. I think that would be a normal person. But these people are straight up lying through their teeth. And any logical person, in fact, anyone with a comprehension of a fifth grader, a 5-year-old actually, like my daughter knows this, right? Knows that there is problems within the housing market. So why are they not being cautious, Scott? Why do you think?
Well, I mean, take your pick, throw a dart at a map, and you'll hit a reason why these people continue to cheerlead. But the number one reason, I believe, is self-preservation. When your income is based on real estate sales, and real estate sales are declining, and you attend weekly sales meetings on how to handle objectives from your clients anytime they're starting to give any pushback on buying right now, that's not a good sign. And so what we're seeing is, I believe, a bunch of people in the industry that base their cost of living on euphoric stimulus era, bubble era income, when there's the sales were just, is crazy, going through the roof. Well, now we're in the sharpest decline ever seen. So we know agents are dropping out of the industry. They're on life support, many of these. The only ones that, like me, that are you, that have the freedom to come give this real talk are people that have other income outside of real estate commissions. See, my message has always been, you don't get rich owning your house. You get rich owning other people's house. It can start with your first house, but you got to see, does it pencil out? Does your cost to carry put it within its rent range? So maybe after a couple of years, you save up a down payment for your next house, put a renter in your old house, and stack up a few properties. But you see, most agents, because they base their cost of living on artificial stimulus era in sales income, you see, now they're about to lose their own house. Their cost of living is going up. They're desperate. They are very desperate. So they're going to be in worse shape than their clients. And I always say you never want an agent in worse shape than their clients. So the seasoned, long-time agent, even they, a lot of them I'm seeing drink the Kool-Aid at some level. But maybe they're insulated a little better where they can remain in the industry and be able to weather this storm, because most longtime agents have lived through a cycle or two. So, as long as you didn't base your cost of living on euphoric commissions during stimulus, because now they're gone. I can promise you, our phone's ringing off the hook much less. We're having to work a lot harder to find you guys safe deals. But before, it didn't matter. I could walk you off a cliff. The sky could be falling and you were buying a house because mainstream media was shouting from the rooftops, it's a good time to buy. And I've always reported, as soon as mainstream media gets a hold of narratives, it'll be the nail in the coffin of real estate. And what are they reporting on now, mainstream media? It's rainbows and sunshine anymore. It's recession, it's soft landing, it's transitory, it's the housing market not doing well. It's on. The fuse has been lit. So anybody in the industry that says, ignore all that, listen to me, and let's go buy a house and not examine if it pencils out, I don't know if they have your best needs at heart. I don't know if they're putting your needs before their own. I think they're desperate for sales, and they're attending weekly sales meetings on how to get you to buy in this environment. That's what I think. Well, I know because I attend weekly sales meetings myself.
And so do I. And the crazy thing about it, Scott, is they're all saying the same thing. It's not even original. It's just like the same argument, it's just the same toxicity, the same nonsense. It doesn't matter what brokerage they are. Everyone is doing the same meeting. This is what you need to say to convince people to buy real estate. Now, I have a comment on the screen. This is from a core subscriber. This is my man, Wolf. Now, Wolf understands how overexposed new construction is in Phoenix. But this is what he's saying. Okay, so we got our new construction. We're good. What he's saying is Phoenix is not crashing yet. It started, then stopped, right? So a lot of people feel that way, Scott, that like, we were like massive crashing inventory coming up in around January. Some of the trends reversed, but I just got reviewed Redfin's article they put out on Thursday. It looks like they reversed back. So it's more of a plateau. We need more weeks of data to confirm a trend, but nevertheless, it appears that way. Now, talking to Wolf, it started and stopped, and his concern, Scott, as is a lot of people, all right, and I want you to answer this. A lot of people are concerned with this. Where's the resale inventory? Should we worry there's no resale inventory? What happened to the inventory? Maybe it's because it's the lowest inventory months of the year. I don't know. What do you think, man?
Well, I mean, we can look at past real estate downturns to get a feel and an idea. I mean, they always say history doesn't repeat itself, but it tends to rhyme. And so in the '08 bubble, we saw a similar situation where real estate prices started to come down, but then the mainstream narratives changed to real estate now becoming more affordable. There's a lot of, like you said, even at the industry itself, trying to come up with little cute fuzzy catchphrases like, don't try to time the market, it's time in the market, right? Or date the rate, but marry the house. That'll be the answer for all our problems. I mean, we saw a lot of this before. So I think in areas like Phoenix, and we could, like I always say, throw a dart at a map, you're hitting an area that got too euphoric, and Phoenix was one of them, right? And then we saw it being exposed. And we're going to continue to see it exposed. I think what happens today, because of our digital diet, if we don't see it happen overnight, we don't believe it. It took up to 5 years to see peak to trough out of '08. I believe this will be a flash crash in comparison. Why, you ask? Because we just looked at data on your Fred economic chart that showed us that this decline's happening quicker than the '08 bubble. So don't be surprised if we see a bottom come much quicker than we saw in '08. So in the industry, you probably heard things said like a dead cat bounce. In Phoenix, you could be seeing a dead cat bounce, or some buyers that are not as educated as the ones that maybe are watching today are going back in because narratives are pushing them back in. But the realities are what the realities come down to is we're at the tail end of stimulus era and the front end of a bailout era. We're seeing that in fact be the case. So it's the front end. It's the front end, tail end of a crisis, front end of a recession. We're just now entering into the recession. It hasn't even been officially announced yet because of job numbers alone. Other than job numbers, we're in a recession officially announced by government. And once they do that, then the fuse is lit again because people start to panic. The herd mentality, people recess even if they're financially fit. So it's going to contract even more money. So I guess, with Phoenix, it crashed in the last bubble. This bubble was bigger. So to think you're out of the woods, I don't think so. I don't think so yet. Now, again, even here at the Crash Bros channel, and I call myself an economic awareness channel, but I've been maybe coined as a crash videos, a shock jock. Take your pick. The realities is that this one, it's going to need to play out, and we can't guarantee a crash, but the warning signs now are starting to tilt the scales of justice towards higher potential of crash than not crashing, right? I think we can all agree with that. The data is revealing a lot, but we're one news event away from Phoenix becoming a race to the bottom. I believe spring and summer, not only are we going to see an accelerated inventory based on historical trends of that season bringing listings, is when you have new construction now slated to deliver that what they've been stuck in production with is all going to flood the market this summer. And we're going to saturate with a bunch of inventory, Phoenix and other areas that are building right now. And we're going to see economic headlines not be rainbows and sunshine, which is going to scare people even further. We're going to see competitive price slashes, people stuck on the market going through price reductions. And, it's coming. It would appear it's coming. I mean, stay tuned because, nobody knows for sure. My money, if it was going anywhere, says buckle up and strap in. You're potentially going to see a massive amount of listings this summer and a lot of price cuts and a lot more news headlines that aren't going to get people to rush into the markets, probably rush out, if anything, as more job layoffs are announced, and potentially as soon as they get the unemployment numbers to the levels needed to announce recession. That's not going to help the housing market. Like, I hate to say it, it just can't.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I'm going to pull up a really interesting comment here in a minute that I've actually heard numerous times, and I think it's a little trick. But I wanted to read this comment from Johnny. Johnny's also a core. I have his phone number. We talk, man. And I look after some of my viewers, man, because I care about them. But basically, he's talking about Sacramento, and all I'm reading here is just like, Travis, I'm impatient. Hurry up, right? Johnny, I'm sorry. That's what I'm reading here because Johnny already knows he's smart. But this is what I want to show you guys the last crash and how there is zigzagging. Okay, so right now, Scott, people are worried like, oh my gosh, the inventory is going down, blah 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 blah. But in the second inning, that happens. It happens. The little bit of wave, but the trajectory is the same. So far, right? The trajectory is a downward trajectory. It is the same, okay? But look at here. This is the last bubble. We had periods around May 2008, okay? We had periods where it was almost plateaued. And then we had a period during the recession, okay? March 2009, like towards the beginning of the crash. House value went up. They went up, Scott, from March to July.
Because I think... Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. We're going to see this a similar pattern, but the scary part is look at that bubble that we're now sitting on. Like, that thing's insane. That's like the Mount Rushmore of housing bubbles. But even so, in the last recession, there was a dead cat bounce within the recession because jobs hadn't failed yet to the levels that were coming. Eventually, what we're going to see, my friends, and I hate to say it, I mean, commercial real estate's another elephant in the room right now, right? Is commercial real estate is connected with jobs. That's connected to the job market. Your residential house and property aren't connected to the job market. Commercial real estate is, and commercial real estate's in massive trouble. And I know, hi, Orlando, welcome to the show, my
Hey,
friend. Looking good. So we're just
thanks.
on the Travis getting caught up here in a second. Let me just finish my thought so Orlando can jump in and say hello. Is that, this is the front end of the recession. This is we're just getting started. In fact, we haven't even announced it yet. So, it's a lot to contend with right now. I'm going to share with you a little bit of what I'm doing, what I'm telling my buyers to do and my subscribers to do, if and when it's time to go shake the trees and test some properties with an offer. And let me tell you one thing, shocker, spoiler alert, it ain't bidding wars. I can promise you that. I ain't walking you into a bidding war. I can promise you that. And that's what a bunch of people just did in the height of this bubble, my friends.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, dude, I love you guys so much. So, you guys, here's Orlando. Orlando Minor, how are you, sir? And thank you for joining us.
Yay, what's going on, man? Well, thank you for allowing me to come onto this stream. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's nice to have. I love it when we're all together here. I'm going to throw up a question to you, Orlando. This is going to be from Johnny again. I get so frustrated with Johnny because I love him so much and he like knows the answers. But take a look at this, man. Okay, I'm starting to feel the. The first thing, Johnny, is your feeling. Okay, so we're starting this out, Johnny. Just so you know, and I love Johnny. Me and Johnny, we go back and forth. All right, I'm not knocking him. I am a little bit, but in a playful way. You started this out with feel, not data, not fact, not reality. I feel like him and Jeff, you too, man. Like I don't want to hear your feelings anymore, but I do. I also do want to. So I'm messing around, but I'm starting to feel this the initial drops in that some markets saw was an overreaction, and I would say the overreaction is the house's values going up and the FOMO and the overbidding, but that's okay. He really wants to buy. I get it, and I am seeing prices stabilize. And for how long, Johnny? A month without something big happening. I feel like prices will remain high and trend up. And the thing is, Orlando, I want you to answer this, but I think that something that big that was happening was the 40% run up in equity and doubling of interest rates in 1 year. I would say that's big, Johnny. But this is our man right here. I want Johnny to do well. I want his emotions to be not comforted like a child, but go in to some of this emotion that's happening. Some of these people were watching the market like a hawk, Orlando, and then prices they feel that prices reverse, right? And that's why I tell Johnny, Jeff, Vital, get your realtor's license so we can access MLS together. I want to watch you guys access MLS so we can see the data. But Orlando, what do you think about what my good friend Johnny is saying?
Yeah, I think he's feeling the FOMO right now. I think it's getting warmer outside. It's that hot time that everybody's getting back into the market, and and a lot of people are feeling like the money is burning a hole in their pocket and they have to do something. Like I feel like I have to get into this market. And a lot of people will start making decisions based on how they feel. And you know what? I'm just tired of being in this market, dealing with this thing going up and down and back and forth. And they will go ahead and make that decision to buy just on the fear of missing out and seeing everybody else jump into the market. And that's a mistake. And here's the reason why I say it's a mistake is because, things have just started to happen with the market. And a lot of times, just like I heard Scott say in the stream previously, is that everybody needs things to happen like at a snap of a finger. You know, how long did it take us to get here? Versus how things are turning out now, how things are starting to go up and down. We see things with unemployment. We see, the banking system. Things like that are starting to happen, and people are just like, if it doesn't crash, if it doesn't correct, if prices don't go down tomorrow, then it must be going the opposite direction, and I need to jump in now. And I just think that's a mistake. I think you need to look at the data. You need to look at your local market. You need to determine if you are even in the good position to purchase right now. A lot of times people are seeing these high prices and maybe they did spend the money. Maybe they don't have an emergency savings account altogether. Maybe their credit isn't together, isn't in the best of shape. But you're going to force yourself to purchase a home that you can't afford. I don't think that's a good idea.
I mean, that's how foreclosures happen. I mean, it's easy for us to see that. And I see a comment from Gypsy. Gypsy, I want to get to your comment. Scott, I have a comment for you. I've been here, and I don't know if you guys have been hearing this as well. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard. This is multiple people have said this. I'm hearing that it's taking, oh my gosh, 10 months to get their home listed on MLS. Can you tell me if that's true, Scott? And
You mean
why would
they're stuck on the market for 10 months, or it took their agent
no
10 months to get them to market?
just to list the house? Just to list the house.
Wow, that's insane. Well, maybe in the height of the buying euphoria, I mean, no, because it was buy. See, in the crisis, we were buried in buyers and not enough sellers. We'd kill for a seller. Oh, yeah, it was buyers and nobody willing to sell their house. Now it's flip flopped. Now we're getting a bunch. So I don't know. That's weird. Like like for me, I'm like, we need to get you on the market yesterday because we're now shooting at a moving target seller, and our target's no longer going up. Our prices are coming down. So I need to get you on the market yesterday. If I waited like that, they got screwed, in my opinion, because had they sold 10 months ago, I had them off the market like that. Quick. Now I'm stuck on the market, competing. I would say, the best way to get sold is price right. That'll fix the way your house shows, everything, price it right. The second one I like to do is find out who my competition is and beat them. If I'm the most expensive place, who's going to race over to my showings? No one. And that's where we're seeing a lot of people play games with their clients. 10 months to get them to market over, let their sellers set the price. Well, Scott, my house has all kinds of curb appeal and we've got upgrades and, the neighbors in it. I know your house is special, but I got to get it sold. I got to find out who my competition is and beat them. So I got to give everybody a reason that's still out there, still enough to buy in this climate, over to the house. How am I going to do it? By coming on the top of its value range? No. Got to get on the lower end of its value range. So sorry to hear that it took them 10 months. Like I can only guess, but that's unfortunate because, had you came to market right away, like I would have probably got you on the market. We would probably already get off the market and had you test lowballing more properties right now somewhere else.
So, Johnny, I saw your comment. Hilarious. They're throwing me off, Scott, Orlando. I'm reading some of these comments. These guys are hilarious. But great answer, man. I mean, all of us can agree that it should take you 10 seconds to have a listing put on MLS. So to me, it's just like another FOMO, another misinformation thing. Like, oh, it's doing so
I don't know
well
about 10 seconds, but maybe 10 days.
Right. It depends on your TC or transaction coordinating. But it doesn't take too long to list someone's house on MLS. But this is a good question. It's kind of similar to the last one. This is from Gypsy Tree. A little bit nervous. He's been watching a long time. A lot of people are nervous. Obviously, different areas, different trends. Orlando, we all know it's about hyper local. But nevertheless, if you can go into this, what he's saying is there's no inventory in my zip homes. And I understand, Orlando, we have to look at MLS, right? Like a lot of it is we can interpret if we have the data. But anyways, no inventory in my zip homes pending in days with elevated rates and prices complete. So sideline people looking a fool. So do you agree, Orlando? Do you think it's the well-positioned buyers that they're just losing it mentally? The FOMO is getting the fear is getting the best of them. Can you respond to that comment, please?
No, I mean, I don't understand the whole the whole premise of that. If someone sits on the sidelines and with a purpose and they do their research and they're getting their stuff, ready to jump into the market and doing all of their research, how is that foolish? I don't understand that. If you're doing your research as you should, if you're making one of the biggest purchases of your life, I don't understand. Should you just jump into a market and don't care what happens? Just go with the wave of people? I think that's crazy. So for someone to say to you, say like, oh wow, you guys are sitting on the sidelines, so the deals are passing you by. Well, if you've been following our information or following our advice, as far as you should have been looking at the market wow, 6 months, a long time ago, right? So how can someone say, oh wow, hey, you're a clown because you decided to do research on your local area and if you should decide to purchase or not? That just sounds ridiculous. And it sounds like an individual who is trying to push you into the market with going in blind, with your eyes closed, ears
Yeah,
covered.
I know. And man, I mean, just there's such a failure to society from realtors. And I understand they're salespeople, but it's like, I bang my hands, get the table, Orlando, because we have access to the data. Everyone's a realtor here. We have access to the data. We could very easily, the realtors could very easily use the data to help. Let me explain how you find a great deal. Let me explain my concerns. If you're still ready to buy, by all means buy, right? But the over optimism it is just quite shocking, Orlando. It is quite shocking.
Right. Well,
May I
oh, go
chime
ahead.
in real quick? So with all, I get it because I hear that a lot where I'm sitting today is, the housing market is showing zero signs of crashing. Yeah, some softening, no more over asking, but no real crash risk. And there's limited inventory. So it's very easy for agents where I'm sitting today to say, you're blowing it if you're staying on the sidelines. Real estate's the path to wealth. Time in the market, not timing the market. It's easy to say that in an area like the commenter just said. It's like, hey, we're not seeing inventory. We're looking like idiots stuck on the sideline. I kind of come back to sometimes if I was to say, okay, let me see if I can be objective in this scenario, in this bubble, is maybe the first month of interest rates getting dropped before prices did their run up. Maybe some of those people are insulated a little better. But the people that bought at the
Yeah.
peak of the bubble, they're in massive trouble, friends. They're exposed. And my concern is this. You see, when you no longer can sell your house, and this is to you, the commenter, if you buy right now and your house goes down in value, you don't own it anymore. It owns you until it's ready to let you go.
Yeah.
And that's the roll of the dice you're going to have to understand. Am I willing to take? Now, for me, what I was saying, and the guys I know are going to co-sign this, is if you're going to buy in this environment, cost to carry versus what it'll rent for, even if it's not a rental. Because now, I put my head on the pillow at night knowing no problem. Economy, my wife loses her job. I have financial hardship. Renter now goes into the property and they're making the payment. I don't have to lose the home, even though it won't sell for what I paid for it. That's the thing. So my area is not showing that yet. Some areas, but then I have to look at, well, how much down payment do I need to put on this house? So my cost to carry is within its rent range. It just has to be within it, not upside down. So not only people, they bought at the height of the bubble upside down, they don't own their houses. They don't have the luxury. It's costing them more to own the house than they could rent it for. So they have no options but foreclosure. That is their only options. It happens. So I appreciate the data. I appreciate everything. I would say it comes down to street smarts over book smarts. A little bit of both is going to help you. And that's why a well-rounded counsel, me, guys, been around for a long time, just giving you the realities of what happens. The data guys, the finance guys, those guys keeping you grounded are going to but at this point, why jump in? You can only save money, in my opinion, at this point. If you didn't, maybe that small window, the first month of interest rates being dropped before run-ups happen, maybe we'll have to wait and see if they're even safe. But definitely, if you've been on the sidelines this long, I don't think it's going to hurt you to stay there a little longer, maybe get through summer to see if inventory is coming, which it is.
Yeah, Orlando, I'm going to give you this comment right here, but I want to answer, if I can, Gypsy Tree, because he's thrown up some good stuff, and I care about what he's saying. And this is what he's saying, guys. He says, I agree with the majority of what you guys are saying, but let's be real. I thought I was, but that's cool. I love you, Gypsy. I'm being real, though. Just letting you know, I'm always trying to be real, man. I'm always being real. What it would take to get back to what it would take to get back to pre-pandemic levels. Travis, you have said it may not ever get to that affordability again. And the reason I wanted to put this up, Orlando, Scott, is I have to breathe here, okay? It doesn't have to get to pre-pandemic levels. I'm sorry. It doesn't have to get to pre-pandemic levels for the housing market to be considered a crash. It went up about 40%. Our last crash on a national average, according to Fred, went down 19%. So, so Gypsy, I'm not knocking you, but what you're saying is you want this crash to be twice as bad. So, and this is what I'm saying, affordability and prices, although related, they are two separate things. Brother, if Southern California, let's say Hollywood goes down 75%, okay, if it goes down 75%, I still can't live there because I can't afford it. But if I had to live there, right, guys, say if I had to live there, then on the sidelines, I'm getting out of debt, I'm increasing my money, I'm increasing my purchasing power. So I think it's important to know the difference in what we're talking about here. Price, affordability, similar. I mean, they're related, but they are two separate things. And I don't think that we need prices to go back under 2019 for it to be considered a crash, because that would mean people that purchased in 2020, 2021, 2022, and this year are all done. All of them are
yeah. I mean, and it's people like that I really worry about, Travis. And that he sounds like some of the agents out there, because the realities are, if he's like, let's be real here, there's no way it's going to happen. Never say never. They've always had booms and busts in the market. It's no longer if we're going to have a bust. It's never been if. It's always been when. Why? Because we've always had them. So anybody willing to rule it out, no, this is the new normal, the new utopia. Everybody gets a house for free. It's an episode of Oprah. You get a house, you get a house, you get a... It's not. And the realities are this. I'll tell you when. A depression, an economic depressionary level of a down. Oh, no, you're just shock jock. They've happened too. So anybody ruling it out. Now, if you were to tell me, hey, listen, I mean, I think the percentage of likelihoods, okay, you're entitled to that, but zero crash risk on this? You, my friend, drank the Kool-Aid. I'm sorry to be the one that has to tell you. Now, I'm not sure if that's what you're saying, but I know a lot of the agents I'm seeing out there, zero crash risk. Zero crash risk here. Let's go to a FOMO factory and tour a model home, friends. No, friends, that is not what you want right now. In the biggest bubble ever witnessed in history, that is not what you want. Like, I don't know what else you have to do to drive these points home. We've booms and busts. We've had them. So we just went through a really big boom. Anybody saying no bust coming, it's not if, it's purely when, and we just produced the perfect storm to deliver it. So this is the catalyst. It's coming.
So I agree, man. So Orlando, let me throw this up for you, Orlando. I don't know if this person is joking or if it's a realtor. I think this is a realtor. Marino, I appreciate you stepping up and commenting. So, in Orlando, before you got here, I pulled up 3 different sets of data, and I explained that these are red flags. This could be coming. This is a huge financial transaction. You'll be trapped to your house. And we still, Orlando, I'm telling you. Well, if he's telling us, then we got to believe him. Right? He's telling us, Orlando. Look, here's his second comment. Prices are going through the roof. I'm telling you, Orlando, you have to buy, man. You better have fear of missing out. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You, sir, Marino, are the problem. But thank you for commenting, bro. I really appreciate that. But let me go back to Johnny's real quick. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean. I appreciate you commenting. It's paused. Financial firefighter. Johnny said something, Orlando. This is to you because you're in commercial. Right. You know what commercial real estate is? It's B of A constrictor, tightly wrapped around the economy, suffocating growth for the next 2 years. That's according to B of A Michael Hartnett. Can you talk on that? And thank you for the comment, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, commercial is it's in the death spiral. I mean, every day news is coming out. I think the news just came out about apartment buildings, like, being the sales of apartment buildings being the lowest it's ever been. And you have to remember, a lot of the viewers may not understand that apartment buildings are like property type A. That's what lenders love to lend on. That's what investors love to purchase. And if apartment buildings are down and no one wants to buy apartment buildings, then you can imagine everything below it is going to be the same. And that is true. I mean, we look at industry, property types that were just doing just killer during the pandemic, industrial, Amazon warehouses, all type of trucking warehouses, that type of stuff was just going through the roof. You could not have any available inventory trying to sell those things. They would sell before they even hit the market. They were pocket sales all day long. Now those properties sit on the market. Now all of companies like Amazon, Walmart, they're cutting back on those things. They're getting rid of warehouses, are saying to the landlords, hey, can you go ahead and cut that rent in half, or I'm walking. Those are the things that are happening in the commercial industry and when it comes to commercial real estate. And, we have this problem when it comes to apartment complexes. There are so many apartment complexes being currently built right now that, it's just the inventory is just out of this world. As a landlord, as an owner myself, you have to, can you raise rents when your tenant can just go down the street and get a cheaper rate, or, are at the same rate or a cheaper rent? No, you can't. So, a lot of these, there's going to be just a big downpour of just bad real estate out there. We already know what's happening with office buildings. Who's renting office buildings at this moment? What company is deciding that, what, we need more locations? No company is doing that. Everybody's downsizing, and commercial real estate is just at that point right now where something massive is about to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Scott, I have something for you, sir. Good answer, by the way, Orlando.
Oh, no
Yeah,
problem.
Orlando.
I'm trying to keep up with these comments. Geez, there was a comment here. It was an interesting comment. I can't remember where it was, but it was basically something to the effect that even if you're upside down, Scott, okay, even if you're upside down, at least you still own the property. You don't have those losses until you sell, just like the stock market.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you just bought, that's what you're telling yourself. How do I know that? Yes, well, of course I'm going to tell you. That was me back in 2008. I had bought, and I was like, well, at least, you can weather the storm, and real estate always comes back. But then my income got attacked. I wasn't making quite as much. I said, gosh, getting tightened in the old belt around the Walters house, and gosh darn it, if I didn't check its rent range, I had no luxury of putting a renter in there. My wife got laid off, and my income got... I'm like, this sucks. Now I'm just house poor. I owe a house. They're in here, grown-ups and family and parents. Oh, just weather the storm. Yeah, I would have to wait 15 years. Been house poor for 50. I had other assets, great purchases I made outside a bubble that were performing great. But I had this one purchase I purchased in a bubble. I was like, screw this thing. I'm out. Put it on the market. Here's a short sale for the May. I'm out. And that's what I did. Now, my other real estate, I still have it performing quite nicely. In fact, through the crisis with my extra money, I paid off the loan. Free and clear, that thing. The golden goose that lays the gold. That's what I want from my viewers. And I also want to take this opportunity. I saw Cameron Jenkins, one of my subscribers, that sends me great stuff. He's always touring FOMO factories out in, I think, Colorado. All the bubble buyers, every purchaser in there bought at the height of the real estate bubble. Bubble buyers in the FOMO factory neighborhoods. And he had his little kid in the car. So he said, he's like, listen, the depressionary level of a downturn is mathematically alive in terms of depression cycles. And we've had them throughout history every 100 years. We're in the 100-year cycle. But let's just leave that over here for the second. In terms of the question was, there's a good chance, your house might make it back from a crash, but do you want to be house poor? Do you want to be tied to the house? Do you want it to own you? Well, if it doesn't rent out for its payment, that's exactly what it's doing, even if you have appreciation. Well, I got appreciation. It's still worth this much, but my payment is way more than its rent rate. You see, I only deal with investors that if I can't make the house pencil out, I can't even waste their time. Now, you FOMO buyers, I can get
Scott,
you all day, every day. I know exactly how to get you to buy. The sky could be falling. I can make you buy. Get a stage, FOMO factory. Oh, you're going to fall in love with it, make the wife fall. I got you. Sky could be falling. You're buying. If I can't make it pencil out, my investor don't want to even let me onto their property.
I mean, it is funny, man. But like, dude, they are leading these people. Well, I would say June, right? So like these realtors, man, like when they're saying it's never been a better time to buy at the peak, like June in 2022, like how do you not talk about that? They're just going on about their lives like that didn't just happen. Like they didn't just lead people and give people horrible, terrible, awful advice. They don't come back and say, I was wrong, I'm sorry. They don't do that, man. I mean, it's so disgusting.
Yeah,
But I just want to, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to say real quick, what's so funny about that is Scott is right. I mean, I've had, realtors give me a call and they'll be like, hey, Orlando, got this great deal for you. And I'll be like, oh, what is it? Then they'll tell me it and I'll be like, just do some quick math. They'd be like, yeah, that is a cash flow. And they'll be like, oh yeah, but it's and it's like, I just want to hang up the phone. Like, why are you even calling me? Like, why would you even waste my time?
Yeah, I'm not going to call Orlando and say, hey, I got this multi-unit residential and it doesn't pencil out. But hey, would you buy it? I really need a sale. I mean, the wife's pressuring me. Got to go to Disneyland this year, and we did it last year. I need this sale, Orlando. Can you help me out? Even though it doesn't. I was like, no, I like you, Scott. I ain't gonna bail you out of this, man. Bring me something that pencils out. Maybe, like, if you're still my realtor, you're probably getting fired after I hang up this phone.
Exactly. That is so true.
So, real quick, man. So, Chad, don't worry. Chad's like, you're going to be upset. Dude, I love Johnny, Chad. Me and Johnny, we talk all the time. I need people to help keep me sharp. Orlando, here's a good comment for you, man.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot. I just got back from a new home community just right now where I'm using data now. So, I promised my viewers I'd never do that type of video unless I had the data in advance. And the data right now, comparing 2022, the new home builder are cutting 10 to 18% off the current inventory under 2022, that's happening right now. So, this question says, I've seen builders of houses that have been sitting on the market for over 4 months, resistant to slashing their prices in Dallas, Fort Worth. They have to wake up and smell the coffee in due time. Can you hypothesize, Orlando, on why? Okay, first of all, we know that there's gimmicks. A price cut doesn't mean it's a true price cut. So
Right.
Can you tell us why you think that some in the same area, some new home building communities are having real price cuts and then others are faking? Why aren't all new home build communities price cutting under market?
Well, I think it comes to a bunch of things. Like, I think they think that a lot of home buyers will, that this isn't when they were actually coming out. So now the season is where everybody can come out, and that FOMO will, pressure individuals to overpay or at the price that they want them to pay it at. But I also think it has a lot to do with the finances of a lot of these builders. A lot of these builders, if you don't understand, they have a lot of pressure going up with these rate hikes. A lot of the loans in these lines of credit, the rate hike gets added on to that. So if they sell in their eyes at below market or at market, right, then they're going to lose their head when it comes to financing, or it puts them under a lot of pressure to sell one house to pay for another house, to pay for another house, to pay for another house. And they don't want to get into that position. So what they're going to do is they're going to tell you, hey, we'll go ahead and give you a free refrigerator instead, instead of actually giving you a price cut. Or, like I always say, they'll give you 2 Applebee gift cards instead of telling you, hey, we'll give you a price cut. And so a lot of those things come into play when it comes to these builders not, dropping their prices. And some are dropping their prices.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I want to jump in real quick and add to that as well, is that, let's say you're the builder, right? And you have 4 phases of construction. You got 3 phases done. You're on your last phase of construction, and you got to sell through it. Well, it's not going to be easy to sell through that last phase if you start slashing prices, because let's say you have another 4 or 5 months of construction before you're going to finish out the last homes are going to be finished and ready to sell. Well, if you start slashing prices now, what's that going to do to the end projects? That you're better off incentivizing people to buy at today's price so you can continue to try to hold these
Mm-hmm.
prices. Once they're built out, though, done, 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 done. See, they're just trying to get these things built out. If they weren't built out, they'd be slashing them like crazy. It's only because they have more inventory unfinished that they'll reduce the value of those homes when they're having to do it anyway, start slashing prices. They're reducing prices of homes that aren't finished yet, that aren't even available to tour yet, that are still sticks, not even drywall yet. I mean, they're about ready, and we've seen this in the last bubble where these homes, there was probably more phases of construction being suspended. You're going to buy in phase 3 and phase 4 never happened. You got a ghost town next to you, some lots and plots and dirt streets with no houses on them. That's what happens in a real estate reverse course. So they're just trying to rush through, do everything they can, date the rate buy downs, free upgrades, incentives, some cute and clever promotionals, spring sales event, whatever they can do, get you over there and buy the house. So yeah, I mean, there's this, like you said, I mean, it comes down to really the builders see what's going on. They're not in their conference rooms right now with their feet up talking about we're going to sell through these, no problem. No, what can we do to get these things sold? We need to sell yesterday. Team, get our salespeople out there, make them sell. And that's why when Travis goes to these FOMO factories, he puts boots on the ground. So he goes in there. Most of the times, these people, the salespeople, you can't even deal with them because they're getting grinded in their sales meetings by the builders. Go sell these units. Do anything but slash the price. That's what they're getting told. It sucks to be a salesperson for these communities, to go sell in that environment. When you get educated buyers now coming through grinding you, they're pissed. There's so much going on out there behind closed doors. It's insane. And for agents to just, oh, no, everything's good out here.
So, real quick, guys. So, Jeff M., do what you got to do, brother. If you got to put people on mute, man. Anyone that's a mod on my comment section, do what you guys got to do because I trust you. Don't kick anyone if it's just a disagreement, though. But if it's like what's been going on and you guys feel that way, then do what you got to do. Okay, I appreciate that, and I'm sorry you guys had to see that. But here's the thing, Orlando, sir, to you. I had a realtor actually tell me that oh my gosh. Okay, hold on a second. Let me try to read this straight faced. Okay. Tell me the market value of the homes are what people are willing to pay. I understand, but can you go into how value is determined and the safeguards for collateral as well, being the appraisal?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so yeah, realtor is telling the individual like it's determined on what people will pay, right? But did we just come off of a session where people were overpaying, where they were paid $50,000, $100,000? So are you using those type of comps to determine if that's what you should list a home for, or that's what you should purchase it at? Because that's a faulty argument there. And yeah, I mean, you can look at a lot of these values, and you look at and you decide to yourself, should I purchase this home? Is this value correct? And I think, to be honest with you, it's not about it's true, and this is honest, exactly what it is. A lot of people will say, Orlando, it's what the market will bear. Orlando, it's not really about it's about what you can afford. What can you afford? Can you afford a $500,000 home? If you can't afford a $500,000 home, then it doesn't matter if you put in that offer or not. You can't afford it. You can't afford it, guys. So it's about affordability. And in some instances, it may not work in your favor. And that's fine. But you have to really look at your finances and determine if you can afford these homes or not. And looking at old comps of 6 months to a year ago and having a realtor tell you, yeah, these are the numbers we should use, you should fire that realtor. You should fire him.
So a couple things, man. So I teach classes on appraisals.
Yeah.
I love appraisals, man. I have so much experience with fighting appraisals on value. So I know a lot about value and all these other things. But Merino Racing, yeah, a sold comp is a sold comp. That's what I'm not sure what they're getting at.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to talk about a comp, and I wanted to remind people that one of the ways that so a comp is a sold property, right? What do new home builders do to, to kickstart a community? They could sell to themselves or sell to another party for in a price that's too high that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't need an appraisal because they're paying all cash. If they could pay all cash, then there's no safeguard of appraisal. And also, Marino, you may have heard something called appraisal gaps. Okay, an appraisal
What?
gap means that the person is paying too much for the property. And what we learned, guys, is we can't count on people like normal people to determine value. That's why appraisals exist. If we could do that, then we wouldn't need appraisals to begin with. But anyways, I'm so sorry. So back to Scott. Scott, I have one for you, man. I have one for you. So Scott, boom, 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 boom. Let me see here real quick. I totally had one. Darn it. Just Scott, if you can tell us what you are, I am in Houston, Jo. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm in Houston. Um, Tell us, Scott, what can realtors do to actually help people right now?
Be willing to put them on the sidelines and earn their business later, if that's what it takes. That's numero uno. You got to exhibit that level of commitment to your buyer. If you're not willing to put
Hmm.
them on the sidelines and earn their business later, that's the number one thing, in my opinion. If your realtor exhibits that type of behavior, you got a good realtor. Most of them don't have the luxury of doing that right now, though, unfortunately. So you're going to see a lot of people that are just going to try to get you moving along, write offers, get you on properties, tell you whatever they need to tell you. So the number one thing is that as long as the agent is willing to put you on the sidelines, earn your business later, that's a sign of a good agent. Number two is the basic fundamentals of the area. Let's go ahead and take a look at our property. How much down are we putting on this property? How much? I think the other thing I always preach, and I talk to our agents anytime we're helping you guys, is we need to talk to the selling side to see their level of motivation. Now, I also try to teach you guys how you can read between the lines, look between the cracks. If you look on Zillow, Redfin, Open Door, wherever you're looking at properties, and say, well, let's see how long they've been on the market. How many views is it getting? How many saves is it getting? How many price reductions? Well, I got a pretty good temperature check now. These people are stuck on the market going through price reductions, and that's not something I have to go override an offer on. So the other thing I want to see out of your for an agent is, let's call the selling side. How you guys doing over there? You want to see an offer? It might not be the offer you want to see, but it's an offer. I can send it over if you like. Now, if they're telling me, hey, we already got multiple offers all at around asking price, I'm telling my buyer, let's wait. Let's go look at another property. I want the one that says, please send us your offer. I'm dying over here. And I'm seeing that out of a lot of sellers now. Like, crickets over here, Scott. I can't even get anybody through my open house, much less
Yeah.
an
Hmm.
offer.
So let me tell you guys what I'm doing here. So this is a magical program that's called MLS, Multiple Listing Service. Okay. So it's like when the people try, especially my own local house market, when they try to talk me, it's so frustrating because I look at live data every single day. So I want to show people, guys, that despite because I saw a couple of comments that there's no price cuts on the lower scale of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up the data so we don't have to go back and forth. And I'm going to active listings, 125 to $250,000. I'm only going to show price decreases here. Do y'all see how amazing? Scott, I mean, you guys understand, but let's look at the results, okay? First of all, there's 665, all right? So here's the lower price point. All of these have price cuts, substantial price cuts, $57 a square foot. Let's pull up some of these pictures. All right, there's a 20, that's not quite $20,000 price cut, but look that's $127,000 house price cut. Let's go to the next one,
Hmm.
$10,000 price cut, $57 a square foot. What are you guys talking about? What do you mean the low end of the scale of things is not price cutting? Here's another price cut. Look at days on market, 21. You guys want to see days on market in my local housing market? Let's see. All right, let's just look at days on market because people aren't getting it. And the feelings of all the stuff that's going on drives me absolutely bonkers
Mm-hmm.
because feelings aren't the data. I'm seeing so many things. Here's the DOM right here. Okay. Cancel this real quick. I'm just going to categorize it real quick. Let's go this way. And let me go to like page 4. You guys can't see that well, I know, but here's the days on market. It's actually increasing. Let's go to 27 and see. Okay, let's see how many days on the market. I mean, look at the days on the market on some of these price points. Okay, 400. I mean, over a year, almost a year, 349 days, 334. And look at the price points. It's a low price point. I kept the price points the same. There's hundreds of days on the market. So anyone that talks to me about Houston, I'm like, what do you like? If it's priced right, like Scott said, it's gonna sell. But you don't want to be pushed into. Look at this, 200 days. All of this is 200 days on the market. Every one of these price cut, everyone sit over 600 houses in my local housing market price cut. So pretty substantial. Orlando, I got a question for you, man. So I was watching and a couple of people wanted me to drop their name. I want to drop their name because these guys are such a clown. I mean, it's so despicable, the lack of caution, the lack of quality care for someone else's money, right? Like that's my issues. Like y'all aren't, these toxic cheerleading realtors aren't thinking of the transaction as their own money. They're being reckless with someone else's money. So I was watching, I made it about 2 minutes through this video and I was like, this is absolute garbage. And then I went to this person's and their channel is pretty much dead, right? And we know that they're generating leads. But I go to their comment section, Orlando, and you see people commenting because this is a hype train. Okay. This person, this guy, he's a fear, uncertainty, and doubt person. Like you got to buy now. Everyone's stupid if you don't. Like you're stupid if you don't buy right now. And the guy's in California. He's in the state that's just be, and he's still. So, anyways, I go to his comment section and I saw a couple of my subscribers there, and people are making like really good points, and they're like attacking him on his own video, and he refuses to respond. And the only thing he's responding to is like, yeah, who cares about these crash bros? And he's like, yeah, these crash bros are at the end of their rope. And I'm just watching this guy, man. And I'm like, should I just make a video? Should I just make a video about this guy? Because it's happening all over. I will embarrass this dude because you don't act reckless with someone else's money. Sorry. I'm sorry if that was too loud. I'm sorry about that. Orlando, what's going on? Why is that happening? Can you touch on that?
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you just kind of hit it on the head. Like there is a realtor. He's trying to sell, right? He's trying to sell homes, right? So he wants you to be on the same page of, hey guys, if you don't buy now, then prices are going to continue to go up and you're going to lose the opportunity to get in on the low end because 2 months from now, what's going to happen? And just remember, I told you so. So you better get in now before, who knows how far this is going to go. It's going to get way more unaffordable, right? And here's my deal on that. My deal on this is that if you are on the fence, if you're on the fence about purchasing a home and things are already shaky for you, unaffordability wise, right? Then why would you feel that you would need to be pressured into making the biggest purchase of your life just because you think it's going to get way more unaffordable for you, right? Wouldn't you take a step back, look at all the data, look at all the things, check out your credit, check out everything that's personally happening with you, and make an informed decision rather than being forced in FOMO into purchasing a home? Now, we do have to remember, this is, for most people, the biggest purchase of their life. And you're going to be cornered in by a realtor to make the biggest purchase of your life on shaky ground. What sense does that make at all? It makes zero sense. And I'm urging everybody, do not feel the pressure of this FOMO.
I mean, and I think that we can all agree on that, Scott. I mean, I wanted to pull up a comment. Here we go. Well, someone made a comment. I can't find it. It's the dude. It's Marino, and I'm only giving people screen times if it brings up a good conversation. But the person was like, the crack. Like, I'm not saying we're not in a bubble. Like, he's changing his tone, right?
Right.
But you crash bros have been wrong so far. And the first thing I'm thinking of is, first of all, you don't even know what I'm saying. Because all of the haters are just like throwing up jealousy. They're throwing up frustration. They're throwing up insecurity all over me. It's all over me, man. Get your throw up off of me, okay? Do your own thing, people. But anyways, so someone's like, first of all, what am I wrong about? I've been right about almost. I was wrong about unemployment, and I was wrong about where foreclosures were at, and then active units. So I was wrong about a little bit. But how the heck could you say that we're wrong when we have never had an equity or a medium price sales decline, and including Case Shiller, we've never had a run down this fast or run up that fast. So to me, when I hear that, it means you're a cheerleader and you're actually the one that doesn't know what you're talking about, because all of us on my channel right now use data, we use logic, we hit each other, right? We're able to say, what if I'm wrong? What does that look like? Here's the data, here's the link. If we're wrong, we will be accountable. And you guys know that. I made a video. It was embarrassing, Orlando Scott. I made a video. I was wrong about something. But you guys will know I'll make the video if I'm wrong. But again, people aren't listening. Scott, last thing, people aren't listening. Here's what we're saying. Just be cautious. You're not stupid if you're cautious. Scott, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really good points. And I mean, first of all, you're not going to be right all the time. You want to be wrong all the time. When I first came to YouTube, I'm just a realtor out here in Southern California, an episode of the Wild West, a showdown at the OK Corral, living in an episode of $1 Million Listing, and I saw the FOMO transpire, and I had that moment. I'm like, this is exhibiting bubble behavior. I'm like, I feel like I got to tell somebody. And I turned on the camera, and I said, hey, listen, everybody, I'm a realtor, guilty, this is exhibiting bubble behavior. Was I wrong about that? No. In fact, not only was it a bubble, it was the biggest bubble ever recorded in world history, like Travis just said. Overnight appreciation and never seen before highs. But the scary part was it was no organic growth. Market manipulation. Stimulus era. So now, like Travis has said, it's now. So I don't know where I was wrong with that. I'm pretty sure I was right on that one. It ended up being identified. We've identified the biggest bubble ever produced in world history. The top of it. Because why have we identified it? Because it's now reversing course. But how is it reversing course? Faster than any other bubble in history. Breaking all the wrong. So then the cheerleader comes on and tells me, you guys have been wrong. Oh, really? Well, I'm pretty sure now we're entering in the correction phase of a real estate downturn as we see national averages and prices cool off and median home prices tank and U.S. savings rate at an all-time low. People are running on fumes, paycheck to paycheck, and U.S. debt at an all-time high, and bank failures, bailouts occurring, and commercial real estate mortgage-backed securities on the verge of coming due, with a lot of empty units out there. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that stuff's happening. So anybody wanting to minimize the severity, politely disagree. Now, back to Travis, and I don't blame him, I want to blow the lid off a bunch of rainbows and sunshine channels every day, all day. I can hardly stomach some of the stuff I see. But as a gentleman, I try my best not to. But the one guy he's speaking of, I remember once seeing his channel, and he's coming on, hey, friends, welcome back to the channel. And, everybody wants to talk about the crash, and there's not going to be a crash. In fact, I had a foreclosure in the last downturn. I'm like, what? This guy said he's had a foreclosure, and he's doing the same thing over? Expecting a different result? Insane. So then he goes back to the property. He's like, here's the house I bought with my wife, who's now my ex-wife, back in 2000 and whatever, 7, 6. He's like, you see, if I had held on to it, it would be worth more than what I paid. I'm like, yeah, 15 years later, in a huge overnight 40% appreciation rate in California is what was needed to dig your way out. You would have been carrying a depreciated asset and needed a housing bubble to come again to bail you out of the last bubble. If it wasn't for this bubble, you'd still be underwater. But he's trying to use that as proof why this time is different. It wasn't different at all. So yeah, I mean, the reality is, like Travis said, when you see certain real estate agents and listen, friends, I want you to buy real estate. I want to sell you real estate. I'm a salesman. That's what I do. I want you to buy real estate. I just want you to know you can look at your own area right now and see if it pencils out. If it doesn't pencil out, then you need an agent willing to write an offer that'll make it pencil out. And if you can't find that agent, you need to find one. And you need to wait until so all areas are going to behave differently. I've showed you guys properties all over the nation, cost to own cheaper than it would rent for. There's only one time in history where it makes more sense to rent than to buy. It's in a real estate crash. So if you're on the sidelines renting right now, I suggest you stay there, depending on where you live, if it pencils out. If you can buy the house for less than what it would cost you to rent, well then maybe you get an agent and test it with an offer. but don't fall in love with anything you see. Be willing to walk away, because if you're writing offers, they're not going to stick, because people have euphoric recall right now that are selling their houses. They still have the bubble aftertaste. And their agents like, yeah, I can get it, sir. Give me the listing. I'll make it sell top dollar. Stuck on market, price reductions, kiss of death. 300 and something days later, Travis is showing you on his channel on the MLS, stuck on the market, like upside down. That's what we're dealing with here. So our job is to cut through the chatter and just have you not too far over here, somewhere in the middle, at least. And somebody's got it. Somebody's got to blow the lid off this. But the reality is a lot of agents that you're seeing out there, young agents, never lived through this before, or they drank the Kool-Aid in this one, so they need it to continue because they have financial gain or financial preservation, because their cost of living was based on euphoric bubble income. And that bubble income's gone. There's no disputing that. There is no more bubble here, friends. It's deflating. And so are people's incomes. People are dropping off, dropping out of the industry now. They're going back to their day jobs. Mortgages origination, like Orlando will attest, and Travis.
Yeah.
So,
it's all reverse course.
These comments, man. I mean, I'm trying not to laugh over here. I mean, some of you guys are hilarious. But I have something for you, Orlando. But I wanted to respond to my man Chad. So he's like, when are we gonna admit defeat? To me, like, comments like this is silly and it's funny. But the honest answer here is, I'm not trying to win. I'm not trying to win. If I go back into real estate, I make 5 times more than what I'm making now. So you want me to win? I need to start selling real estate. So
I already won. I win in either market. You know why? Because I'm giving it to people straight, earning their business now, tomorrow, next year. Because I'm demonstrating the type of behavior you should have. If you want to go get some Kool-Aid drinker agent, go. Roll the dice in the biggest bubble ever produced in history. They're begging for your work.
They're getting high on
Kool-Aid. I win either way.
Orlando, this one's to you, brother. Thank you, Chad, by the way. If it's not a good time to, if it's not, and I think you're better qualified to answer this. If it's not a good time to buy, what should they do with the money I have saved up? Lose to inflation? That's Orlando.
That's a good one, really.
It is good.
Well, you know, what can you do with the money? I mean, you've got CDs, you've got savings accounts, you've got, you know, there's all types of investments, right? But you know, what I hear when someone says, well, Orlando, what should I do with the money? Well, it sounds like the other choice that you're trying to get to is to purchase an overpriced home. And I can promise you, you know, if you want to buy an overpriced home, you will lose money on that. And that's the opposite side of that. Overpriced home or put your money in a savings account. Which one would I choose? I would choose a savings account over an overpriced home any day. Any day. So I get what people try to come at with the whole, like, inflation is high and is going to get ate away and all that other stuff. But I mean, let's be real. I mean, the money is gone if you have it stuck in an overpriced home. At least you still have the money in a savings account.
That's a really good point.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I would say that's a really good point, because that is something that I've thought about, and know you thought about, our subscribers. Right. Like, where can I stick my money? Like, it's getting, inflation is the hidden tax. It's robbing it. It's doing nothing. It's burning a hole in my pocket on silence. Well, you can start to use some of these real estate websites and identify places in the country where you can put it in real estate where your cost to own is less than its rent range. You can cash flow. But if it's not happening in your backyard, I suggest you stay on the side. You know, see, I got the best advice I ever got in life was, it's not important to own where you live. It's just important to own. A successful person lived in a rental. I'm like, you're so successful, you live in a rental. Yeah, it's not important to own where you live. It's just important to own. So if, like, a lot of people, because like you said, they're hedging their money against inflation, whether it's physical metals, CDs, wherever, or just like Orlando was saying, I would almost, like, I'm heavy in cash and real estate. because I'd rather have inflation rob my dollar than put gasoline on that fire, and also not only have inflation killing it, but home prices killing it too, because I bought at the
Right.
height of the bubble, and now it's reversing course, taking it even quicker to the bottom. So, the whole cash was trash narrative might have been true during stimulus, when you could throw a dart at a map of stocks that just seem to keep going up, even if they're zombie companies, because of the euphoria. But that's clearly come and gone. So I don't know. I mean, it's a tricky question for me. Like, real estate's where I live. That's my kind of thing. So like,
Yeah.
I always look at exposure. What's my exposure? Like, if I come to Orlando and say, hey, Orlando, there's a property in wherever, Detroit, Michigan. It costs 10 grand and it makes $500 a month. And even if you don't want to pay cash, if you do a standard amount down, your payment's about $100 a month to
Right.
service 10 grand, but it's going to cash flow 500. We're going to have to go over there for a weekend though, and clean it and paint it and put some, yard signs up. You want to do it. Like, if you look at real estate that way, not FOMO factories designed to make you fall in love with the finishes and color schemes. And next thing you know, you get your finished unit, it's falling apart, cracks in the drywall, cracks in the foundation, cracks in the tile. If it even has tile, it's probably got carpet. And it's a white box. There's no finishes. Oh yeah, well, at the sales center, at the design center, they wanted to sell you those upgrades. And those are the waters we're swimming in out. That, welcome to a real estate bubble. This is what happens in a real estate bubble, exactly to a T of the things we're talking about. There's no disputing that.
Couple things. First of all, Luke, if you want to come on, Luke, I saw Luke in the comments. Luke, come on. I sent the link to this to the StreamYard in our chat group. So, Luke, if you can hear me, Luke, you are not my father. I'm your father because of Darth Vader. Get it? It's not funny. But just log in, Luke. Come on if you want. I have another comment here that's really good, but I wanted to talk about Gypsy Tree, because remember, I mean, we already took a question from Gypsy Tree. A couple people thought he was like a hater, but the reality is, a lot of these people aren't haters. A lot of these people are just confused, and a lot of these people are hurting, man, because if you read this comment, he's frustrated and he's scared. He has a second child on the way. He probably feels like, in order to be a man, father, husband, I'm assuming that's a man, if not wife, mother, that he has to take care of his family. And what I'm saying is like, love is the most important thing. Love is the most important thing. But I'm bringing this up because his emotions, okay? This is a smart person. Jeff's a smart person. Johnny's a smart person. We're smart people. But everyone at this point should now understand how strong the emotions are in real estate. And knowing how the emotions work in real estate, you also have to understand the professionals take advantage of that. The pros take advantage of that. Realtors take advantage of that. And that's 100% fact. There's no guessing. I've been doing this 2 decades. I see it happen all the time. If you show them your hand, and I say your hand's your emotions, a lot of these people are going to eat you alive. And that's a simple fact of the matter. So we
Yeah.
got to be delicate, is my point with people.
And I totally get that. And this is the reason why, on it, at least on my channel, I try to make it just really simple. That to that subscriber, I try to make, and I know it sounds crazy, guys, but I literally like to go in that scenario where he just said. I would just like to say, okay, if this is what's causing you the pressure, here are your choices. Do you want to buy a home right now, live closer to your in-laws, but lose $60,000? Or do you want to wait and then possibly find the home that you're looking for, right? Still keep the money and not lose the 60,000, and you won't live closer to your in-laws. Those are the choices. And most people would say, I don't want to lose the 60,000, right? But also, most people don't want to take the bad out of the first decision. They want everything. They want the cheap home, live closer with the in-laws, and in most cases, you won't get the best of everything. You won't get the best of both worlds. You have to come to a compromise and understand where your position is and make your decision based off of that. And so I try to make it as easy as possible for individuals to make decisions. And I get the pressure. I understand that in everybody's life, you have something that's kind of poking you, making you, pushing you in one direction or the other, right? But this is the reason why we all make videos on trying to say, look, this is what's happening. We can't force feed you, but here's the information so you can make, a decision based on your situation.
I love you guys so much, man. I want to start crying, man, because I don't know. I mean, as someone that's been doing this so long, Scott, Orlando, I want my peers to say the right things. To be honest, the person that is a complete clown that I listened to this morning, and I won't say his name, I would support him. Like if he reversed and he started understanding how things work and understanding like, oh, maybe I should be cautious, I would support that, man. I'm not trying to fight people here. I'm just trying to say like, the fact that you're like realtors, and some are good, but the fact that they're not even acknowledging things, and not only they're not acknowledging cracking going on, they're doing it in a derogatory manner. They're doing it to make people ashamed, right? For them to get defensive. It's just really disappointing. All right, let's see. I had to throw it up. That was funny. Okay, that was funny. Okay, let's see here. Let's be realistic. Okay, here's something from Chad. See, I try to put everyone's comment up, man, or at least someone was going on and on about. Oh, see, they're not talking about the Northeast because of this. It's like, no, I'm not talking about the Northeast because you're annoying. Anyways, so here's one right here. I think it's Scott's turn. Sorry, Scott. Crash Bros need to be realistic about finances today versus tomorrow. So I thought we were being realistic by saying being cautious with the biggest financial transaction of your life and don't listen to cheerleaders. I thought that was being realistic about finances, but maybe I missed something. Scott, anything?
Let's go ahead and just cut to the chase a little bit if possible. And the realities are no one can guarantee a crash or not crash. No one can guarantee that. It comes down to the percentage of likelihood. So all we're saying is typically, well, not even typically, 100% of the time when housing bubbles have manifested, they've crashed. That's the facts. That's the factual data. Every time the market's exhibited bubble behavior, they've crashed. But not all areas crash the same. Some are the first to go down. Some are the first to climb out of a downturn. I mean, they all behave differently, right? And so some areas of the country are starting to exhibit, the reverse course now. So now it's just like, where is it going to stop? It's the $1 million question. But nobody can guarantee a crash or no crash. So when somebody guarantees no crash, I have a problem with that person being my agent. Because now I feel like they maybe are just going through sales trainings and what their sales manager is telling them to say to combat these narratives. So it's getting harder and harder to do that, though, sales manager. I mean, gosh, the U.S. savings rate is an all-time low, and U.S. debt at an all-time high, and the banks are starting to fail. My buyers have questions, and I'm not sure how to answer. Well, let's tell them things like date the rate and marry the house and time in the market, not time. Tell them things like that, Scott. Get back out there and show them houses. So, you got to understand the waters you're swimming in, friends. It now just comes down to percentage of likelihood. Like for me personally, even as somebody with financial gain, now luckily, unlike me, maybe, and I don't know for sure, versus the guy that Travis is talking about that has a channel as well here in California. I don't know if he has other income. He might only be surviving on real estate commissions as an agent. My guess is it probably is, at least the majority of his bills rely on that. So out of self-preservation, we don't fault him. He's got no other choice unless he's purposely doing it. But we don't think he's purposely doing it. We just think that he's clouded himself from giving real talk because he's brainwashed himself into thinking this is in fact the case. I've always said, and I know many of you agree with it, the first step of getting out of a problem is just admitting there's a problem. The second step is acceptance. We overheated the biggest asset class in the world, the U.S. housing market. We overheated it artificially, and it exhibited bubble behavior. So I guess, like I said, to wrap it up, you got to understand that historically, anytime that happens, it's crash. So if somebody's putting zero crash risk on this one, zero, none, like that's alarming to me, but I can, maybe I'm all alone out here. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Luke just jumped in. He'll probably agree.
Luke, how are you, brother?
Yeah, good. Just back from the circus show down in Mexico, real estate.
Luke, I got a question for you. I'm going to pull up your guys' channel so I can show the viewers where to go to check you guys out. But Luke, take a look at that bottom comment right there. His point was, for the sake of argument, when you rent, it's 100% interest rate. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what interest rates are, because when you rent, you're throwing away your money. Can you talk into that, Luke?
Well, it depends what you're doing with the extra money that you have, and it depends how much buying is versus renting. I mean, if this person's saying what rent is 30K and then 60K is the mortgage cost, is that what he's saying? So
Yeah, they're just
if you're investing that extra money, then you can make a return on that money, and you can just be sitting there waiting. And this is such an alarming time, I think, to get into a house purchase right before a recession. I mean, think about that. If people could look back at what we're talking about now and think, oh man, I wish I'd listened, because you just can't do it. I mean, there's no way that we don't avoid a recession. Every time the Federal Reserve has tightened, there's been a recession. And we're at the highest debt levels on record.
Go figure.
So Luke, why do you think that, I'm going to set you up a little bit here, but why do you think that salesmen or saleswomen can't fathom that? Some.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just really the fact that, when you're working in a sales job, you are driven primarily by money. And that money, if you have no other income and you're dependent on that job, that's going to mess with your mind, because it's what you're feeding your family with. So you're going to basically advise people to do the wrong things, and you might not even be conscious of doing it. That is the amazing thing about human beings and human psychology, is we do a lot subconsciously. And when it comes to realtors and real estate agents, I don't necessarily think that all of them are out there doing it knowingly. I think a lot of it is like, they don't want to accept the possibility that there's going to be any sort of crash, any sort of recession, because they know what that means for them. They know what that means for their family. And it's been all roses for the past sort of 10 years. So people have had a nice run, and the recency bias is a powerful thing.
Yeah, good.
Really good point. That's a super good point. You're absolutely right, Luke. I mean, it all comes down to the psychology of people and the psychology of sales. And that's exactly what's happening, is that, the agent, out of self-preservation, and we're trained in sales trainings. Do you think those sales trainings are telling people, hey, earn their business later, put them on the sales side? No, it's the opposite.
So to the viewers, real quick, if you all want to ask anyone specifically a question, just put their name and say, I have a question for, and then the person, and I'll try to throw that up there. Orlando. Okay, this is a comment. I'm so sorry. I thought this was a question. Where'd the question go? Man, I'm just trying so hard not to laugh. Some of this stuff is so funny, y'all. Here's Melissa. Orlando, talk about Melissa. She's pretty much from the start. She's trying to get first place comment champion. She can't get past Dave. Where are you at, Dave? Where's Dave at? Dave's the champion right now. Melissa's number 2. You still good number 2, Melissa. I appreciate all you do, Melissa. It's not Mealy. Okay, I was saying Mealy. What's up, Mealy? No, it's Melissa. That's my bad. But Orlando, what do you think about her comment? Like, people are going to do what they're going to do, but for her, she's going to sit and she's going to watch. She doesn't want to end up house poor. She doesn't want to lose 40 to 50% of her income for shelter. Hold the line, y'all. What do you think about that comment?
Yeah, I think that's smart. I mean, especially it's based on what she's saying about, she just wants to make income shelter. A lot of this is one of the most important things that I think, and I think Scott had brought it up, is that that a lot of people will go into these scenarios and buy a house that they can't afford. And then when the other shoe drops, which is unemployment, right? When that drops and all these, job losses come, now you have no income. And now you have this overpriced home that you couldn't afford to begin with, but you definitely can't afford it with the income. But you knew that there was a high possibility that something like this could happen. I just don't want individuals to see this coming, or there's a high possibility of this coming, and still make the decision to put themselves at risk for that. Now, like I've always said on my channel, if you decide you want to buy, hey, do your thing, no judgment, whatever. But I'm just trying to give you the information that, in my opinion, that will allow you to see between the lines and a lot of this other stuff to make the decision that's right, that's best for you and your family. So I really applaud her for that and holding that line.
Beautiful answer. Scott, I have one for you. Prices are not possible to be sustained this high in a new interest rate environment. Do you agree with what they're saying, that prices are not sustainable with interest rates the way they are?
Well, absolutely. I mean, historically, every 1% the mortgage rates go up, 10% of purchasing power declines. So but it takes a while for the bite out of that apple and recorded sales to start to reflect that. So we're just getting started now, in my opinion. We're not even a year in to interest rate hikes. I think we need to give it a good year to really sink in and let some of this kind of start to settle in. So yeah, of course, interest rates that's why we're doing this. The reality is we remember when we first started reporting on the housing market exhibiting bubble behavior and then kicking the can too far down the road. That was basically, when interest rates were dropped, and then we did a lot of stimulus measures, stimulus programs, and stimulus money. Well, one of the stimulus measures was the housing market. And how they addressed the housing market, stimulating it, was making agents now essential workers in a health crisis. You're an essential worker. And as long as you do remote showings and one-on-one showings, a certain protocol, you can go sell. Well, the floodgates open in that low interest rate environment. Well, what the government probably should have done is, as soon as we started seeing that bubble behavior and euphoria, they kicked the can down the road, meaning they should have risen rates then. They waited too long. They let the bubble manifest. And then it ended up being this runaway train. So now we're trying to deal with it a little too late. And we're putting, ice water on that forest fire and cooling it off. And so so that's kind of the waters we're swimming in now. We overheated the biggest asset class as one of the stimulus measures and kicked the can too far down the road. Now we're cooling it off by cooling interest rates. But the challenging part, and the unfortunate byproduct of that, was inflation. Inflation now is the runaway train. So it's this two-headed monster. Risen interest rate environment with runaway inflation. So you got to pick your poison. Which one are you going to do? You're going to fight inflation, or are you going to try to glide us in for a soft landing? I mean, there's just no choice anymore. So this plays out. It's either a fast motion correction, recession, or depression, or a flash crash. And so, like we talked about before, it's already showing us the declines are happening quicker than they did in 08. So it's exhibiting crash behavior, I would say again. But to answer your question specifically on the spot is yes. I mean, interest rates are taking a huge bite. That's why we're seeing price reductions, because of interest rates. So every 1% mortgage rates go up, 10% purchasing power goes down, give or take. And so we're gonna adjust these markets accordingly. Now, local markets will be more susceptible or resilient. That's what we need to start watching now. What are local markets doing? What did they do during the euphoria? And so that's, now it's being smart going into the buying in this environment. Does it pencil out? Does the property pencil out? Treat it like an investment.
Yeah.
It's more than a house. Be like that lady that commented just before. Be willing to sacrifice now, live in a cracker box temporarily and write off in the sense, no, I need to look rich now. I want a FOMO factor. Okay, let's go shopping. Let's buy you a FOMO factor.
It's unfortunate. And I got some stuff for you. Go ahead, Orlando. Go ahead.
I just want to add really quickly that a lot of times, not only I know we're talking about, mortgage rates, but a lot of it, there's a lot of this stuff is attached to non-interest rate stuff, like the cost of owning a home, right? So we've got insurance, we've got property taxes. All of these things have doubled. I just did a video on Florida, how there was like these memos from banks, from the insurance company saying we're gonna increase already a 200% increase, and they were gonna increase it again for another 54%. Then it comes to find out that Citizens Insurance, which is, I guess, the insurance in Florida, is now insolvent. So what's going to happen to that flood insurance and stuff like that? So you're going to see all of this stuff that's piling on. Property taxes. I've done tons of videos where I've shown property taxes have doubled or tripled since 2019. So what are we seeing that's possibly happening on top of overpriced homes, on top of increased interest rates? It's going to get, who can afford that? Who can
Yeah, I
afford
mean,
that?
like, add that to the mix. Like, if you want
Right.
more, like, wow, like how we soft landing. Maybe '08. We'll be lucky if we get out of this like we did in '08. '08 was just some subprime mortgages. We've got way more than that to deal with it. Yet somehow this is safe. Everybody, don't worry. Just turn your head and don't look over here. My gosh, he's right.
It's frustrating. So I got a comment for Luke. Luke, give me a minute here. I wanted to bring up this chart real quick. And I'm not picking on you, David. I think David knows that. But you got to be careful what you're saying. All right. You got to be careful what you're saying because it's not true. Every June prices peak. Okay, let me read this. I'm sorry. Every June prices peak because of seasonality. More expensive homes close in summer because people with families move when school is out. And what I'm saying, I thought he meant that it declines after June. And I just wanted to bring this as Case Shiller. And there's no seasonality decline. This goes back for 10 years. There's no decline. Okay. So we're in, this is why I'm saying people have to be careful with their feelings. Here's June. It went up in June. See? Okay. In July and in August. Here's the next June. It went up. See? It went up in June, July. So that's false. Now, obviously, different markets. And again, David, I'm not picking on you. I just think this is a good example of why we really have to use the data. And maybe in his market, it's not true, right? This is the national scale. I have a hard time believing that, though, because this is the national scale. Case Shiller, it's more conservative. It's lagging. There's no seasonal decline. There's no seasonal decline here. So the whole seasonality argument is only propping the housing market up now. So, again, when the seasonality dies down, the market's going to come crashing down. We already saw that the last 6 months. I'm sorry. Here's your comment, Luke. Let me switch back to this. Okay. Luke, my man, what do you think? This is a good one for you, Luke. I saved the best for you, brother. Okay. Did you guys, hey, you guys, I hate saying you guys. It's like anyway. So did you guys see the recent comments from IMF economists saying that interest rates will quickly, first of all, economists, geez Louise, anyways, will quickly return to pre-pandemic lows once inflation is under control. What are your thoughts on that, Luke? Do you think that's a good idea to be back in the same situation we were just put in? Or what do you think?
I don't think it's a good idea, but I don't know if I doubt they would do that. I mean, consumer price inflation would have to be a lot lower for them to even consider that. You have to remember that the IMF gets pretty much everything wrong. So maybe we should flip that on its head and consider that could mean that rates are never coming back down to pre-pandemic levels, because the IMF was actually saying last year that this year was going to be rock solid GDP growth and the global economy was going to grow so much. And then they came out end of last year revising their forecast saying, oh, actually, it's not going to look so great. So the IMF typically, I wouldn't listen to an organization like that. It's like, do you trust the government? Do you believe the government?
Yeah. So Orlando, I got one for you, man. Okay, this is from Joe Frank. How does he convince his, they put a lot of pressure on us, don't they? They have a lot of pressure on us, you guys. But we don't have all the answers. We're just doing the best we can. At least we're not telling you to buy no matter what. At least we're not telling people just to buy.
Why does my camera keep going out?
Anything you want to say there, Orlando?
Hey, man, I don't know how to convince your wife. to not buy a house. I mean, only thing I could say, you know, ah man, I'm gonna get
You
my.
can't. You can't. I mean,
I'm
you're
not gonna even
done.
get in that.
You're in trouble.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll
I
keep
just
it at
had.
that.
I,
I
I
don't
gotta
know.
jump. I gotta jump in and bail Orlando out. So I just had this exact thing happen with a subscriber, Joe. Joe on the comments. Got a subscriber reaches out to us. Hey Scott, we need an agent in Orange County, California, and he's like, I really don't want to buy, but my wife really wants to buy. So we talk and talk and talk. And I said, well, my advice is, go ahead and get agent representation in place. Be, tracking local inventory with an agent. That way, when we get to levels where you're ready to buy, your agent's in place already. And so I got our agent and put him together with the subscribers. And then so the subscriber, the wife is getting pushy. She's like, so we had to do a three-way call. Me, the subscriber, the wife, and our boots on the ground agent. 4 people on the 4-way call. And I had to talk. I had to talk to the subscriber, and his wife's on the phone with them. And so I said, let me get this straight. It sounds like you really want to buy, and your husband's like, we should wait. But he's like, he doesn't know what to do in this environment. So I think, Joe, it's a tricky one for you because here's the challenge, and this is what I told them, his wife. I said, if you buy right now and the market tanks, your husband's going to resent you. He's going to resent you if he ends up buying and the market tanks and you caught a falling knife. Now, on the flip side, if he doesn't do it, and you're stuck in this rental they were in the rental for like 12 years. So like, I understand her frustration. It's like, I'm just tired of renting. 12 years he's been saying we're going to buy. We still haven't bought. So it's like a really tricky one. So, my advice would be track your market, have a good agent in place showing you the inventory, maybe write some offers to see if you can get it to be pencil out where your mortgage payment, if you're going to have one, which I trust you are, it's within its rent range. Honey, I'm happy to look at properties. I'm happy to write offers as long as we can get the payment within its rent range. Because then it doesn't matter when you buy. It doesn't matter what the house is doing. As long as you can afford it, you're fine. And if you can't, someone else can. You don't have to lose the asset. And that's the way your wife, I believe, needs to see it. If you can make it happen, keep us posted.
Luke, you want to be the third one there to help him out?
I always think of it, it sounds emotional, but you got to think of it like if I said, oh, you know what? I'm just going to dump $120,000 into the stock market right now because I feel like it's a good time to do, or I'm just sick of waiting. How stupid does that sound? Most people are going to look at you and think, what? But if you say, I'm going to dump $120,000 into real estate, you're a genius. I'm like, what the hell? It all sounds emotional, especially when people are impulse buying. We got to buy right now. And even Scott, to your point, what you just said about the wife right there, it sounds like she was just sick of renting. But why now? Like, why right now? She's been renting for 12 years. Why now?
Yeah, exactly. That's when we started the show with. Looks like if you've waited this long, you may as well wait a little longer. I don't know, summer maybe. I don't know, maybe.
All right, guys. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take this last question right here. Each of us is gonna, we'll have an opportunity to answer it, and then we're gonna get going here. Anytime my lives go 2 hours, people hate on me, man. People hate on me. They throw up.
I'm almost hating on you, dude. 2 hours? I've been stuck with you, man. I love you guys, but my gosh, I got work to do.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, Scott.
No, I'm just kidding.
Let's start with you, Scott. So here's a question. Now, listen. So David's a realtor, but he's respectful. He's just sharing his opinion. So I think it's important to talk about differences of opinion. Although this isn't a difference of an opinion, he's asking for ours. And in our opinion, what is the I'm not going to give you guys any help here, but each of you answer this on your own. But when will be the optimal time to buy? Or what is the trigger that says it is time to buy? Are you looking for prices to hit a certain point? Scott?
Well, it's a really good question, and I appreciate David, participating with the show. Iron will sharpen iron, David. I get calls from realtors all over the country. I talk to realtors all over the country on a regular basis, and some of them I'm getting calls where they're like, "I agree with you. I agree with you, Scott. Like now, like I see you're right." I'm not here to be right. I'm just here to be a voice of reason in what became an unreasonable marketplace. So in terms of when to buy, well, I believe a year is the magic number. I want to see the dust settle when interest rates got risen. I want to wait for a year and see how it behaves. Now, if I'm in these markets today, and I want to see if it pencils out, just standard amount down. Today's interest rate is my cost to own within its rent range. If it does that for me right now, I'm willing to test the property with an offer. If that area is not there yet, then I got to increase my down payment to put it within. In that, I think that's the safest way to buy it. Now, I know as a salesperson, if you got a pre-approval letter and you're ready to buy, and you're like, "I'm buying," if you're not going to represent me, I'm just going to find somebody else that will. Well, then fine, I'm going to represent you, but I'm certainly not going to sugarcoat it and tell you that there's no risk of a market declining. We just had a really big boom cycle. So yeah, I mean, it's like the time to buy is obviously if you're trying, you won't time the bottom. You will never time the bottom in this next crash. Nobody timed the bottom in the last crash. If they did, it was more luck than skill. We've timed the top. We know we've timed the top because we've seen it reverse course. So I believe we're about a year away. And I believe if and when we have an epic crash, we're gonna have to see foreclosures. And I believe everybody, the over 10 million people that bought in the height of the crisis, the bubble buyers, they're the first dominoes at risk. I'm not saying they're going to, at risk of falling because they paid top dollar and most of them no longer own their homes. Their homes now own them because they can't sell for what they paid for anymore. And they probably didn't check their rent ranges, so they can't rent it if they have a job loss. So they only have one choice after that, and that's foreclosure. So we'll have to kind of monitor that. I say stay tuned to the channels so we can kind of heat map. But I believe, we're already seeing it start, and a year from now we're having a different conversation, and it's probably not soft landing.
Okay, good. Okay, real quick, guys. Wanted to put this up here real quick. Do any of you guys share a difference of opinion from each other? Yes, we do. I think that I should put the guy on blast that I heard this morning and make his entire operation public and show you guys he's just selling you to make leads, but they think that I should keep it hidden. Anyways, I think so. I'm putting words in your mouth, but that's what I would say we disagree on. I want to blast these people so hard for potentially ruining some people's lives. It drives me absolutely crazy. So we differ on that, Gabriel.
We do. I will definitely tell you that. I'm definitely the one to be like, Travis, just keep giving the quality information you give. Focus on your people. I'm always about it. I always tell you that.
I know.
And so yes, we do differ in opinions when it comes to stuff like that, guys.
I still think I should put him on, but Orlando.
I know you do.
But Luke, since you just got here, Luke, same question to you, and then we'll get to Orlando. And it's not about whether or not I should put that dude on blast. It's an absolute clown leading people potentially.
Yeah. So I think it's really hard to time it. I think it's hard to put any sort of time on it. But I think that really we've got to just look at unemployment. When unemployment starts to rise, which will happen because historically this has happened every time they've tightened at high debt levels. So we're going to see unemployment rise. And then let's see what the government's response to that unemployment rising is and what the real estate market's response is as well. Because likely it's not going to be good. I mean, real estate is like kryptonite for, unemployment is like kryptonite for real estate. It's not good at all. So at the minimum, you're going to see a market that is more balanced than the market today when people are losing their jobs. And, it was interesting because last night on the plane, I was watching a movie, 99 Homes. I've seen the movie a million times. But I would urge people to go and watch that movie because you kind of realize that we've been numbed to believing that money is sort of worthless in the environment that we've seen, the casino type environment that we've seen over the past couple of years. But when you're in a situation where you lose your job, like $10, $20 means a lot, whereas people throw that away right now. And things will change and money will again go up in value. And that's why you save cash for the crash. But really, yeah, I think you just got to, well, that's what I'm doing anyway. I'm just waiting for unemployment to go up, and then I'm going to see what the government's response to that. Is it going to be cutting interest rates? Is it going to be stimulus? I think the most dangerous thing that we've seen over the past couple of years, no matter where you've been in the world, we've seen it in Canada, we've seen it in the UK, we've seen it in the US from both parties, both Republicans and Democrats, is stimulus. They know that stimulus is a way to temporarily boost the economy, even though it's completely short-sighted. And I think that's dangerous because it ultimately leads to these massive spikes in consumer price inflation. So if they come back in with more stimulus, low interest rates, I think inflation is going to go even higher than we've seen. I think what we've just seen is just the beginning. So it could get gnarly. I mean, if you look at the cycle of interest rates too, it's a 30-year cycle. Like we've been in a 30-year cycle of lower interest rates, and now we're heading into a 30-year cycle of higher interest rates. That doesn't mean that interest rates can't come down. It just means that they're not going to go lower and lower and lower. And that's really just what I believe anyway. And then you got the yield curve inversion, Travis. I know you brought up that comment while Scott was talking there, but the yield curve, it really tells a story. It's not just inverted in the US, it's inverted in other global economies, Germany, Canada, the UK. So it's signaling major problems, not just for the US, but for the whole global economy. And there's a saying that if the US sneezes, the whole world catches a cold.
I love it. Absolutely genius remarks from you all. I definitely appreciate it. Orlando, sir, what do you got, man?
Yeah. So I'm not really looking at the optimal time to buy portion. I'm really looking at the triggers, and I think for the trigger would be what the Fed is going to do when it comes to inflation. He's had the story that he's going to continue to get down to that 2%. So I want to see what he's going to do with that. Is he going to continue to push up these interest rates? And that will allow everything else to trigger unemployment, everything else. And so that's what I'm really focusing on, is watching that event unfold and to see how he's going to really kind of handle all of that stuff. Because I think as you increase interest rates, it gets tighter for businesses, it gets tighter for lending, everything like that. We saw what happened with the banking system. So I'm just kind of curious to know, is he going to pull back and allow inflation to just take over? Is he going to push it up and try to fight inflation, but then everything else, gets messed up? That's what I'm focused on. I'm looking at that.
I love it. You guys are you guys make me appear smart. Thank you. I'm really not. Scott, are you mad at me, man? I kept you on here for 2 hours, Scott. Scott, you look like...
Yeah, I went the distance, man. I'm going to next time jump in like the rest of the guys, like midstream.
I know. Thank you for holding the weight. Scott. I was doing that better. I really appreciate it. So you guys, I love Todd and Melissa. The viewers want you guys back on, but I just want, before I go, and I'm gonna save my answer for another time. But if you're listening to this, remember, y'all, go to their channels. Luke on the bottom left, Market Mania, Orlando Miners, his channel, Scott Walters as well. Go to their channels. They got good information. They're not just a bunch of toxic cheerleaders telling you to just buy. So if we can, I want you all to say your final piece, and then we'll get out of here. And can we start, please, with Luke? Didn't think I was going to call on you first, Luke, or what?
No, I wasn't expecting it. Everybody else can think of what they're going to say off the back of this. But yeah, everybody, just stay safe. Just really think with your head. I think in a time like this, there is just, the emotions are out there right now in the streets, and you've really just got to I don't know, write things down. That's what I do, especially when it comes to big purchases. I write down the positives, the negatives, something my granddad taught me to do, and he was always great with money. And I think when you do stuff like that, it's very hard to suffer from your emotions like fear of missing out, because you know the positives, you know the negatives. Whereas generally, when we're following our emotions, we are creating simulations in our head of some rosy narrative of how things are going to be or how they're going to play out. And the reality is, if you just don't accept the fact that things could go wrong and prepare for that also, then in my opinion, you could be led down the garden path and you could end up being one of those people. And in times like this, I think we just got to stick together.
Man, great, great response, man. Great response. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, Luke. Orlando, Scott, I'm
Yeah, I'll
getting to
make
you. I
this.
see you up there. Look at Scott. I feel like you're looking in my soul, man. Stop
No,
looking
I
at
was
my
hoping
soul.
I was hoping you let Orlando go next, actually. So thank you. I'm still
Yeah,
trying to
man.
rehearse in my head what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make this really simple, guys. Do not feel pressure for this FOMO. Do not overpay, guys. Please do not overpay, guys, and make sure that whatever the decisions that you're trying to make when it comes to purchasing these homes, like do not let emotion take over you and allow you to make horrible decisions when it comes to purchasing the home that you're looking for.
Solid, man. Scott Walters, what do you say?
Well, first of all, thank you to everybody viewing today. Thank you to all you guys. We talk off camera constantly, continuing to try to be iron sharpens iron and doing our best to just raise awareness, ring the bell, and sound the alarm and let people know the biggest artificially created housing bubble ever produced in world history couldn't sustain itself. It has, in fact, reversed course. The dust will settle. There will be blowback. And we're going to pay the piper from overstimulating the biggest asset class in the world. Anybody that's telling you differently probably wants to sell you a house. Be very careful right about now. Just keep your head on straight. I believe, there's a lot of opportunity there now, but only in select areas. I think more is coming. It'll be our job to continue to show you it every chance we get, because it's not only what you guys want, it's what you actually deserve. So thanks for letting me be of service today.
Well, thank you for being of service, sir. And again, all you gentlemen, from the bottom of my heart,
Scott, you forgot to say buckle up and strap in.
check us out, man. You want to give us?
I know. It's funny because I was going to give my standard outro as in final thoughts. Buckle up and strap in. But yeah, I mean, we need to buckle up and strap in for sure. And I don't know. It's better to be prepared for something and have it not happen than have something happen and not be prepared. So congratulations to everybody that's prepared. If you halfway expected this, you'll be less like a deer in the headlights, blindsided by this thing, able to operate more efficiently within it. And that's our goal.
Absolutely wonderful. So y'all sit tight with me. To everyone that is watching this, again, we appreciate you. And again, if you're out there investing in real estate, we do wish you luck. Show these guys some love, and we hope you win.